Welcome to the Rave Festival live in Bulgaria and online wherever you are in the world.
All right, let's begin. Yes, thank you. So that's a gold sign. All right, so I'm really thrilled to be here this year and speak to you about the topic that I've selected for today. Thanks a lot, and for the invitation to the team. And I have this topic here, which is called the priorities in the body graph, and it's basically something that I teach at professional training level one, where people really learn how to do readings. But I wanted to share this with anybody who's interested because I think although it's a complex topic, at the same time it can be spoken about in a way that's easily understood to people who don't study professional training, and it can bring great insights into understanding of the body graph. So let's get into that. Just a few things about myself. I live in Czech Republic and I'm in human design experiment since 2006. I teach at Human Design America. I've been teaching all courses since 2009, basically, and professional training, all the levels, all the way to professional certification. So that's just a little bit about me, and let's go into the topic for today, which is the priorities. And so what is a reading? What is a human design reading? Reading is to a large degree simply naming the keynotes in the order based on the energetic priorities in the body graph. Okay. Um, by the way, if you have questions, I'm going to have a chat window on, and feel free to just write things in the chat. And I hope to catch it. And if not, I will come back to it probably later. And that's how it's going to be. Just feel free to do that. Um, so when you think about it, when we look at the chart and when we do a reading, and basically, I'm saying here to do a reading is to name the keynotes in the order based on the energetic priorities in the body graph. It basically comes down to obviously knowing the keynotes, which Ruhu created, and we all know them. They're written in the books and so on. And then it comes down to being able to recognize the priorities in the body graph. So I have two sections here to the presentation. We're going to take a look at the priorities in uh, in the definition first. Okay. And so, yeah, when when we look at a chart, in all charts, the priority basically lies in the authority center. Obviously, the authority is what it's all about. When we look at a chart and when we speak about human design, it's all about being able to follow our authority, whether it's the so-called inner authority or the outer authority. And obviously, the channel that also defines the authority center, because that's really where the authority gets the definition. So we're looking at the channel that defines the authority center. And when we live our design, we live that channel correctly, and everything else in the chart falls into place into a unified whole, basically. That's the theory, right? Um, Sometimes you get more channels defining an authority center, like you can have two or three channels going into the sacral center, and then we're going to look at uh, how to determine the priorities there. But basically, you need to use your understanding of the mechanics in the chart to select the priority. And a disclaimer, we're not going to talk about reflectors today. I'm sorry. It's an exception to all the rules. Obviously, the priority is different. There is no definition. So yeah, with reflectors, it's a different story. But let's look at the generator with a sacral authority and look at this chart and just take it in. And what are they going to respond to? Okay, what is the priority in this design? And we have the channel of mutation here, 63, from the root to the sacral. And so obviously there is just one channel over here. Obviously, this is a priority over here. That's obvious, right? And what is this person going to respond to? This life force is going to respond not to just anything, but it's going to respond to that which allows this person to go through mutation, to bring change, to mutate things, to dissolve what's happening right now, um, to just bring about change that changes the status quo, right? And so this is obviously the priority here in this design. And then we have the channel of a curiosity design of a seeker, right? Which is somebody who's always curious and always trying to find something, is looking out for something. And so when you look at this design and you see these two, we can call them islands of definition here. There is the one that defines the authority center and another one which is connecting mind to the throat. Obviously, the priority is over here where the authority is, right? This other island of definition, this mind to the throat, is secondary only. The whole deal is here about bringing mutation into the world, going through changes that will lead to empowerment. And only when that's like the the first rule of this design. When that is kind of checked, when that is uh, happening, then within that, this secondary island of definition, this secondary priority can kick in and come into play, where while this person is bringing about changes into the world, they're probably stimulating other people to go looking for something so that they will be able to take on the changes that this person is bringing into the world. It's going to be a great storyteller, somebody who can be a teacher, but maybe, somebody who can stimulate others and get them curious about searching for something. And that's how this person will actually get other people on board so that they will accept the changes that they bring because, the changes that this mutation channel is bringing. This is a so-called a format channel between the root and sacral. These are very, very powerful channels. When this person is bringing this level of mutation, it's stressful. It's stressful even when the change is positive. It's stressful even when, uh, it's the person themselves is being stressed out by all the changes sometimes. So they need to get other people on board. Uh, but if they just start sharing all kinds of ideas, and being a great storyteller and talk to people to get them curious without response, and this is going to be left out, it's not going to bring them any real satisfaction. It's just not, because this is the first priority of this design is what is the channel and the authority center and the channel that defines the authority center. That's the main concern of this design, and everything else is secondary. And when that is correctly lived out, when the person responds, then the other parts of the chart are kicking in. And not only this channel, but everything, all the active and dormant potentials, everything that's there. So when you think about it, in terms of priorities and prioritization, uh, this person's priority is obviously to mutation, to mutate, to bring about changes. Then yes, they can be still and bring the changes all the way to the end and all of that. But this is the main priority in this design. And this is actually something that, I mean, may be obvious, but it's also good to point out that there are priorities within the chart. And always the channel that defines the authority center and the authority itself is the main priority, right? So for example, here we have another sacral generator. I just have a few generators to start with because it's a good type to go through these examples. And you can see that this is the channel of going through all kinds of changes and growth and development, right? This is like uh, balanced development. Uh, it's about starting new things, gate 53, and taking them all the way to the end, gate 42. It is again one of those format channels. And that is the main priority of this design, to grow through the cycles of balanced development, right? Only then, when the person is responding, they can actually, as they go through the growth and maturation, which is the name of the channel, and the cycles of balanced development, when that is happening, they can bring in the sharing of the criticism, maybe, and and maybe point out certain suggestions on how to improve things, what can be better, so that they correct, bring constructive criticism, and perfect the form. But it all needs to be happening within this foundational context of maturation, going on a journey, going through all the phases of the process, start, middle, and the end. So yes, this person has, for example, uh, right, this channel of insatiability, where the root pressure is pressuring the spleen. And this person is under pressure to always wants to perfect. They also have the perfected form to perfect the world, right? But it only works as long as it's part of the larger context of what they've responded to. It's as long as it's part of the larger context of their maturation, of their growth, of their balanced development, right? So this is really the key. This is really the main priority in this design, right? Although, for example, you can see that you know gate 58 and 18 are part of the incarnation cross, 58 and 18, and this person is going to be very much identified with this uh, joyous vitality, gate 58, which is kind of fueling this drive for correction, that work on that which has been spoiled, gate 18. uh, it really only works only as long as the person is living their design and goes through the stages of balanced development. um, there is a question, how would you prioritize if they have two format channels? Well, if they had two format channels, for example, if they also had gate 9 activated, and well, let's maybe let's go here. If for some reason they also had 60 and 3, I would still say 53, 42. Well, you need to look at the circuitry and the basically the gates of the incarnation cross, right? So if they had gate 9, as I said before, if they had gate 9, and they would have this channel of concentration 52-9, then that would be more important for them than 53-42, because 52 is part of the incarnation cross, basically. So that's one of the ways you look at the prioritization, and I will have some list of these ways of looking at it. So yeah, thanks for the question. Feel free to type more if they come. Um, and it's also like sometimes you can have a channel which is conscious. It's not uncommon. You can have a conscious channel between the head and ajna, or ajna and the throat, and bringing mind into expression. And then there is an unconscious definition, let's say, to an emotional center, and this person is way more identified with the conscious definition. And yet whatever defines the solar plexus, that's always the priority in the design. And unless you live that channel correctly and take time to be emotionally clear, you're never going to live out the other channels in the chart really correctly in basically not to your satisfaction, or whatever your type is, peace or success. So yeah, this is the priority here. Let's take a look at another example. There is a lot going on, but basically just when you zoom in on the chart, just take a moment, you will see that basically again, two islands of definition. It's a split. We've got two channels that are coming from the sacral into the G center. And then we have this collective channel of talents, design of wavelength, and then money line, the materialist, or control, or as it's also nicknamed, the channel of the educator. Um, and obviously, again, the priority is in the sacral, always in the center, which is the authority center, right? So this ego is so ready to just initiate and go ahead and inform, educate, or just take control and whatever, dominate. But unless it's happening within the larger context of, the the sacral response, and it's very distinctly individual quality, because these two channels are individual channels, right? Then this tribal control, or this collective talent of getting on the wavelength with other people, is just not gonna work, because this person could be as talented as they can be, and being talented in being in control in a supportive way for other people, all that may be true. But unless they respond and they go their own unique individual direction, 14.2, and explore the things that they like, you know, following one's convictions or the convictions of their life force, it's never really going to bring them any real satisfaction, real um, fulfillment of their purpose. So this is always happening. You can see all kinds of channels in the chart, but where there is a channel that defines the authority center, that's where you start. Now, um, do we need to differentiate which one of these two is more important? In this case, I don't think it's that possible, because they're both individual, and none of these gates, 34, 10, 2, or 14 or 8, none of them are in the incarnation cross. So there is no need to say this one is more important than this one, right? They're both individual. And yeah, so obviously the priority is here. They first need to honor their individuality and go their own unique direction and explore the things they love to do. And that's going to allow them to get on the wavelength with other people and assume supportive dominance or supportive control, and educate other people, 2145, about that which needs to be corrected, with great enthusiasm, bringing the solutions to the problems, while at the same time always making sure they are true to their unique individual direction and only support people who will support back their need for individuality, right? So it's a little bit of a dilemma here. Every chart has its dilemmas, but I just want to say, it all works together, obviously. Even the dormant potentials, these gates that are activated in open centers, they all fall into the mix. They're all are part of the totality of this design of, this wholeness here. It all works together when we live our design, when we follow the strategy and authority, when we actually, in this case, respond. But this is the first priority over here, always. Okay, so let's take a look at another chart. And yeah, if you have some thoughts, let's go, just write them in, and I'll be happy to answer. I'm going to go through uh, several more charts here, and then of course we're going to go into the open, as that's going to be very juicy. But let's stick here with the definition first. Again, there is a lot going on between the root and the spleen. Wow. Okay, all that pressure. I mean, this person really needs to be, doing a lot of sport or something. They really need to move. They need to move their body. It's kind of a suggestion with any one of these channels between root and spleen that they need to do some regular physical activity. Now, when it's like this, they really need to. And yet, none of them defines the authority center. So here we are again in the sacral, and we have 2946 and 3457. And we can see that these are really the channels that are so important for this person. Probably uh, I would start with 2946 because 29 is the sacral yes. This is the sacral's availability to connect with, to respond to. In other words, to connect with something or someone. And as long as they commit in their response, they can give it everything they have. They can be empowered, the channel of power design of the archetype, and then they get to do all these things over here. With joy, they correct and struggle to find meaning in life and go through transformation and transform other people and help other people to go through their transformation. But this is really the priority over here, to respond and live out these two channels that are part of the sacral center, that define the sacral. That's the main that's the main issue here. And only then they get to do all that. Because, this pressure is here all the time. This pressure is always saying, I want to do this. These gates in the root center, they're fuel gates. They're fueling this drive for, ambition, for struggle to find the meaning, for perfecting the world, making it a better place, correcting everything that's wrong. But if they get carried away with just this pressure, if they don't take time to wait and to respond, and really only connect from response, then it's not going to work. This is the priority over here. Okay. So um, let's take a look at this chart. This is my chart, by the way. Again, 2145, materialist, the educator. But here we have three sacred channels. 3457, the power archetype. 3420, charisma, where thoughts must become deeds. And then the channel of rhythm, design of being in the flow. Now, when it's like that, it's always better for a generator to be taken first to the channel which is not individual, because individuality is very much about themselves, right? And generator really works in connection with other people. So if there is a collective or tribal channel that defines the sacral, it's always better to start with that one. Let's start with the flow. And in response, I get to be in my flow, and I'm able to control my flow as well, which is very important. This control is very much also controlling my own flow. And then I can do all kinds of things and be charismatic and, bring some breakthrough insights and all of that. But really, it's all about response. And through response, I get to be in my flow. And flow is everything for this design. Flow is everything for me in my life. If it doesn't flow, I'm just crazy. It makes me, kind of scattered all over. I don't enjoy it. Uh, and and living my life, you know, to some degree correctly gets me in the flow. It's usually what I experience, and that really brings me. It's kind of like a foundational level from where I can come and do anything I do. Just kind of in my own timing, on my own terms, to be in the flow. That is the priority over here. Uh, Again, this person can get carried away by, communicating some breakthrough insights and bringing efficiency or wanting to control or be in charge or educate or whatever. But unless it's happening in response and within the flow, it just doesn't work. Okay. So those were a few examples, just specifically for sacral generators. And I'm going to go into other authorities and other designs, other types, and just go through it in a similar way. So here we have an emotional authority. What is this person uh, looking for? What do they need to be clear about, right? Emotional clarity is, what do you clearly feel, right? It's one of the things I wanted to speak about when I was saying simplifying human design. It's like uh, emotional clarity, it's cool. I mean, it's like you hear it all the time, but what does it actually mean? To clearly feel something. When you say it in this way, people actually understand it better, or they get maybe a better idea. Like, oh, I clearly feel it. I feel it clearly. So what is this person, what do they need clarity about? They need clarity about that which is the theme of this channel, the community, right? Uh, Part seeking a whole, right? Somebody who wants to be part of something larger than them, something that exceeds them, that's larger than they are, something that's just, community basically, right? So they need to be feeling clearly whether the invitation, because it's a projector chart, the invitation is actually allowing them, or if it's actually the invitation where they get to be part of something larger and where they can bring fairness, balance, cooperation, because they're a projector and they're wired to guide other people, and they need to be clear about, well, if I accept this invitation, will I be able to live this community channel? Of course, they have all the other channels over here, right? And especially when you see like the authority being uh, cut off from the expression. It's not really cut off. It just doesn't have direct access to the expression or to the manifestation, right? Therefore, they need other people in their life that will allow them to express their truth, right? As a projector, you know, um, you need other people to invite you so that you can guide them, so that you can shine, so that you can succeed, so that you can live out all those things you have in your chart. You need other people for your guidance, right? If you just guide yourself, it's not fun. So When they wait for invitation and they take time to be emotionally clear, to clearly feel whether they should accept or reject the invitation, and this is not happening mentally, it's happening within that solar plexus. That solar plexus is sorting through the invitation and going up and down on the emotional wave and is uh, kind of gauging it, whether this invitation will allow them to be part of something larger and will allow them to draw other people to better cooperation and transmit the breakthrough and efficient and logical leadership, right? I'm just adding in the other channels. Transmit the the logical and efficient leadership for the community so that people get together and work together better, right? This is the foundational priority of this design. First of all, the modality of emotional authority is patience, right? It's all about being patient. Easier said than done. I totally empathize. As an MG with an open root, patience is something that has been a hard lesson for me, but I'm definitely much better doing in that department. But it just doesn't work if you're not patient. It doesn't work. Although you see all kinds of things and what should be done to avoid the disaster and how to make it efficient, and it's so logical. Unless you wait for the recognition and the invitation and your emotional clarity, it doesn't work. So to be able to wait for clarity is to actually know whether the invitation will lead to success in the community. And everything else in this chart is going to be kind of for the community, not only, but mainly, right? Uh, Especially you can see this bottom part of the chart is just tribal, basically, pretty much only. I mean, there is gate 57 there, but it's so tribal. And then we've got some collective and individuality. So, you know, this person's life is all about community and how to bring all of that for the community. And so this is the priority over here. Uh, if this person just goes on and begins to transmit their logical leadership and awesome breakthrough insights and go blah 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 without being invited or recognized, first of all, they won't feel appreciated and recognized, obviously. Uh, Also, even if they live these channels, all the other channels, as well as they may, unless it's really something that is larger than they are, they're part of something larger. Unless that is happening, they're not going to be really successful. They won't really feel recognized. It's not going to be fun for them. So, example, yeah. Let's take a look at another example. Um, Here we have another emotional authority, another projector. So again, I mean, the alpha channel, leadership for good or bad, the inspiration, creative role model, all great. Everything that's connected to the throat is kind of like uh, ready to go and just talk and walk and make noises. This identity is really kind of strong and wants to be expressed. But again, what about this recognition over here? By the way, you can see this is kind of a classic example. It's an authority cutoff from the expression. And when I say cutoff, it's really not cutoff. It always gets into expression, but through other people. It doesn't do that on its own, right? And it's also unconsciously defined. And here we have conscious definition in the inspiration channel, 1/8. It's also unconscious, but it's also conscious. It's black all the way. So, when you meet this person, this is what you typically meet right from the get-go. But they need patience to recognize when they are invited and when they can lead and guide and inspire successfully. It's all about recognition for them. So, you know, just again, looking at the priorities in the chart, this is really the priority number one. Always where you see the authority, that's the main priority. If you take care of that, everything else falls into place like ducks in a row, it's going to work. And yeah, similar example here. We have a generator with an emotional definition, uh, channel of intimacy, uh, mating, very creative, somebody who can, penetrate the masks of other people and be really close with them, Also somebody who goes through maturation and growth and cycles of development over here. Uh, but this is, this is the main priority here. It defines the authority center. It also defines the sacral center. This is the channel number one, the most important channel in this design. And everything else needs to happen within the intimacy that this person needs to experience for them to be satisfied. So it's got to be that, for example, when they're doing something creatively as a project or at work, whatever it is, they really need to be deeply connected with it. They need to have intimate connection with the project, or it needs to be closeness and intimacy between them and their colleagues or their friends or their lover or partner, whatever it is, right? They need to experience this deep intimate connection, at least with some people or some projects in some instances. And within that, they're going to grow. They will mature and grow through the intimacy that they bring, which is so supportive. It's a tribal channel, right? And and even these two individual channels over here, the thinker and the individuality, all of that is being offered to people they're intimately connected with or to their project that they're intimately connected with. But, they can be the greatest thinker in the world and have all kinds of amazing uh, breakthroughs, that will bring all kinds of, efficiency, whatever, but it's not going to be satisfying for them unless they experience the intimacy that is so important for them, unless they grow through deep, intimate connections. Yeah. I think we can move on. Yeah, just let's see. A couple more examples here. Sensitivity, sensitive support. This is what it's all about. Yes, there is a lot of focus on, you know, bringing a new direction into the world and also this channel of needing to be first, which is all about like the initiation into something new. But unless it's happening with a great deal of sensitive support, it doesn't work. This person needs to take time to be emotionally clear so that they know, they feel, right? They clearly feel what to accept and what to reject. Gate 49, the gate of acceptance and rejection, which needs of other people and their own they need to accept or reject. That's what they need to be clear about. And if they're clear about, well, I should accept this or reject this, everything else is going to work. Then they will say yes to things where they can give it their all, and succeed in focusing on, bringing efficiency, going their own unique direction, initiating other people into something new, being very daring and all of that. But this sensitive support is really the most important part in terms of priority here, because that's what defines the authority center. This is what it's all about here, right? This manifestor. This is 2211, right? This is all about this very creative muse that opens other people up. Is the social being that brings very graceful and moody and passionate quality into the world that opens other people up, opens them up for the change. You know, the emotional clarity is always making sure that uh, if I go ahead, inform, and initiate, it will allow me to express my moods and passion and creativity and artistry, and only then the rest of the chart is going to work. Only then it's going to be like, okay, then I can be in charge. I can be in charge of my own life. I can also support other people. I can educate them about what's really important on the material plane. I can bring efficiency, all of that, but this artistry and passion and individuality is really the priority here. So again, I don't know to what degree this is kind of like obvious for all of you listening and watching the recording, and to what degree it's something new. But I think it's good to just bring it up and say, hey, there is a real hierarchy, and that this is the priority. The channel that defines the authority center is really the priority here. Um, yeah, maybe one more. Um, This is the transmitter, the initiation, and the alpha, leadership for good or bad. Again, the only conscious channel is the identity expressed to the throat. This person is wired to not only be a guide as a projector, but also, uh, actually, it's a manifestor chart. Sorry, to be a leader, to be a leader that initiates and that transmits the initiation and leadership, right? But especially here, when you look at these two channels that go to the ego center, right? We have the transmitter, right? And um, and then we have the initiation. Now, needing to be first, it wants to go first. But really, the channel of surrender, it's one of its meanings of the meaning of the word surrender in the name of the channel is that the ego is surrendering to the awareness in the splenic center. Spleen is the awareness center, not the ego. Ego is just a motor. Just like the root and sacral, ego is a motor which is blind in a way that it is not an awareness center. Solar plexus is an awareness center, but ego, sacral, and root is not. So it's a motor that's kind of a blind motor. Just it has this willpower and wants to push this willpower into the world, but it needs to surrender to this instinct and this knows for people, this personal managerial skills of Gate 44 and this whole channel of transmitter that will tell them, instinctively they will know spontaneously when it's correct for them to go ahead to inform, initiate, and transmit, and then they can transmit, initiation and the leadership. But if they just want to be first and best and push the leadership onto the world without waiting for the splenic hit, for this instinct that tells them when is the right timing, again, they will not have the right kind of impact. They will not be at peace. Okay. Yeah, I see the question, but I think it's a little, let me see, it's a little off topic, so I'm not going to go there. Now, we're going to go into a much juicier part here, which is the priorities and the openness. This is really the reason why I wanted to share this, but I thought it's better to cover the definition as well. And let's get into this. Now, when we come into openness, it is really important to see the openness correctly. Openness is never the problem. The problem is with misunderstanding the energetic priorities in our definition, right? That's why I was also talking about the definition. If you don't honor your strategy and authority, you're going to have problems, but it's not that the open center is a problem. Just because you have an open ego or an open solar plexus, it doesn't mean there is something wrong with you. A lot of the times people say it's empty, and it's really funny for me to say this because especially in courses and in professional training, I keep always correcting people in the classes that, don't say the word empty. It's not empty, it's open, because when you say empty, it implies that there is something missing there. But there is nothing missing in the openness. It's never the problem, okay? The problem is if you don't live your design, then in the openness, the conditioning really piles up. But it's not the problem in the openness, it's the problem in the definition that you don't prioritize your strategy and authority. So this is a quote from Genoa Bliven. And there's one more that I'd like to say. Openness is what we make decisions about. It's where we apply our definition, right? So what does it mean? So for example, if you look at this chart, uh, let's say, well, let's say this chart, okay? So, easy example, this definition is applied in guiding the life force, just on a very simple level. As a projector, this person's design, community and transmitter and leadership and individuality and logic, it's all applied towards guiding the life force to be more efficient. Okay, so that's what this quote means, that openness is where you apply your definition. And openness is what you make decisions about. Okay. And one thing I want to add to that, openness represents all our relationships, relationships with other people and the world around us, with everything and everyone we encounter. It is what we are interested in and what we learn about. Openness is where we go to school in life. Okay. So um, just take it in. And when we look at the openness in the next few slides, just try not to see the openness as a problem. See it as the theme that we are encountering in the world. Anything we encounter, anything we get in, anyone we have a relationship with, they impact us in our openness. They come in through our openness. This is where we take them in. Openness is never the problem. Right? It's over here. Openness is never the problem. Okay. Openness is where we go to school in life and what we make decisions about. Okay. So to say this at the beginning, let's move on. And this is a slide with the numbers on centers, and these numbers indicate the order in which we speak about open centers in the chart. And this order comes from Ra Ruhu. Uh, he had a very definitive like hierarchy in which you go through the centers. Um, and he based it on the level of challenges, on the level of difficulties these centers represent when they are open in the chart. So when there is an ego center open in the chart, if there is any other center open in the chart, the ego center is always going to be the most challenging center to have an open center. And as an open center. If there is an open solar plexus and open ego center, ego is still going to be, according to Ra, because we live in the material world, it's all about how do we make it on the material plane. Ego is always going to be more challenging than the solar plexus, than the G center, and so on and so forth, right? So it's slightly altered. I just slightly altered this order. Ra was saying first you go to spleen because it's an awareness center and then to sacral. But actually, uh, it really doesn't matter that much after these first three, whether you go to spleen or sacral. Uh, it's very clear that the root is next, and then head, ajna, and throat. Um, Interestingly enough, throat is the least challenging center to have open, according to Ra. So this is the order in which we speak about open centers in a reading. But although we speak about it in this order because it represents the kind of level of difficulties the openness brings, at the same time, we always need to look at the openness first and foremost as something that we have a relationship with. So, when you have an open ego, it means that your authority, whatever it is, could be sacral, splenic, emotional, whatever it is. When you have an open ego center, your authority is making decisions about the material world and provisions, willpower, what is really valuable, and all of that. That's what you are encountering, what you make decisions about. So open center represents an area of our life that the authority is making decisions about, right? For example, open ego means the authority is making decisions about the material world and what's truly valuable for the person. Open root means the authority is making decisions about the pressure and the energy that's brought with the root definition. If somebody has a defined root next to you, is this going to be additional wind in your sails? Or is it just going to speed you up and bring a lot of stress? Which is what I'm saying is that, let me just go to some chart. If you have an open root, let's look at this is completely here. If you have an open root like this, and somebody else brings you the root definition, maybe they have gate 30 or they have a defined root in their chart, it doesn't mean you're automatically conditioned. It doesn't mean you're screwed. It doesn't mean there is something wrong with it. This root pressure can actually be additional wind in your sails. It can be a fuel for you to do something you weren't able to do until then. Or it can speed you up and you can be running around like crazy and be stressed out. This happens with transits as well. Like when you listen to New Year's forecast from Darman and Leela, they speak about the conditioning mainly, but it's not just that. It's also, all these transits, they bring um, a potential. Just because they define a root center or something, it doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just if you follow your strategy and authority, your sacral will respond to things, and that root pressure can be used in a productive way. It can be utilized. It can be totally cool to use it, but we need to live our design, obviously. So, so when you look at these centers, I just put together some keynotes for centers that you can see. Um, Basically, any center that's open, this is like a window into the world, into that specific area where you see these topics, G center, if you have an open G center, you really are looking into the world and see the identity and direction of other people. When you look as a projector, for example, or a manifestor, when you see uh, generators, because you have as a projector, manifestor, or reflector, you have an open sacral, you're looking at the life force, the energy that moves the world around, and basically you can see how people are doing in that area. And as a manifestor, you can impact them. As a projector, you can guide them. As a reflector, you can uplift them to the next level, right? So the open center primarily represents your relationship with the world around you. And it's kind of like a window where you go and see what happens out there in the world. Because where you have a defined center, you're not so interested because you have your own way of dealing with these topics and themes, right? So again, coming back to the priorities and the openness, um, one thing to note is that priorities in the openness are determined by the definition, right? So what does it mean? It means that if you have a single definition, you always start talking about centers. If you have a split definition, and there is something that's called a bridging gate, uh, actually the bridging gate is more important than the open center. And we're going to get into that in just a moment. Triple split, again, you speak about centers, and quadruple split, there can be one open center that you obviously start there. But the point is that it's not always the center that comes first. Again, we're not going to talk about reflectors, sorry, but if you have a single definition chart, you always start with centers, open centers. When it comes to openness, you start with open centers. So it would be G center here, head and ajna. If you have what's called a split or simple split, it's really called simple split, but we always say just a split. It means there are two parts, two islands of definition. You can have two kind of possibilities of a split. One is where there is a bridging gate. So you can see, for example, gate 21 over here would bridge the split and would create, they've got two islands of definition. It would create one continent, and it would bridge the split. It would be single definition. If gate 21 would be there, or gate 41, for example. Now, if that's the case, and you're looking at the openness, the bridging gate is more important than the open sacral, for example, here. And I will explain why that is in just a moment. Okay, here, gate 12 will bridge the split. Again, very important. Then you can also have a split, which is so-called wide split, where although you have two islands of definition, there is no one gate that would bridge the split. For example, here you would need gate 58 and gate 16 to be able to bridge the split. So it's two gates already. So it's more than one. In this case, when we look at the openness, we always start with centers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would be the order here. 1, 2, 3, 4 would be the order here, based on this on this chart that I showed you before. And when it comes to triple split and quadruple split, we always start with centers. If there is a center open in quadruple, if not, we go to gates. Okay, so let's look at the examples and break it down. Why is this important? This is really the priority in openness. This is really what this person is looking for, filtering for, looking at. And of course, what they have the main relationship with. And of course, we know in the openness is kind of where the conditioning happens. So obviously, it's good to know where the potential conditioning is. And when I say potential, usually we're conditioned, obviously, that's the case, right? But we grow out of that, we grow over it, and because somebody can tell us or we can see it in our chart, it helps us to realize when it's happening. Okay, so what is the priority over here? Obviously, the ego center is the priority in this design when it comes to openness. So, this emotional clarity is making decisions about the material world and whether something or someone is going to be of value for this person. We know that the priority in the definition lies in this channel of the intimacy, channel of mating designed focused on reproduction, which is nicknamed the intimacy channel. It's about needing to be really close and intimate and connected and supportive through the intimacy, grow through conflicts. Gate six, the gate of conflict, where conflict is the necessary component of growth. There is no intimacy without conflict. It's part of it's wired into the design. You can see it here. And so this person really is needing to go through, you know, some growth through intimacy. And this emotional clarity is kind of assessing, is this really valuable for me? Is this going to help me in my quest on growing through intimacy? Is that going to be of value within that larger context for me? Will I be able to do something for my friends and family? Okay, gate 40, the one that delivers the hardworking gate, looking at the gate of friendship and family. Will I be able to deliver something for my friends and family? Is this going to be of value for me or not? Okay. Of course, we know the not self would be trying to prove their own worth and value, specifically by working very hard for their friends and family. Gate 40 is the only gate in the open ego center here. So if they live their design, they have the willpower necessary to work hard for their friends and family, enjoy it, be satisfied as a result, experience the intimacy, while at the same time also go through all of this individual definition, which is so important and needs to be honored as well. Now, if they don't live their design, if they don't wait for the emotional clarity, they may have a challenge, they may have a difficulty trying to prove their worth specifically by this topic of Gate 40, by wanting to work hard and do things for their friends and family. So, this dormant potential, as it's called, in the activated gate in an open center, this dormant potential, uh, which is kind of the official name for it, is like it can either work correctly or incorrectly based on whether you take time to be emotionally clear. And this ego center is like a window through which you're looking out and you go like, is it going to be a rainy day or a sunny day? Is it going to be of value, or is it going to be something that's going to, you know, just condition me, or where so taking time to be emotionally clear, you assess whether it's going to be of value for you, basically. All right, this is the priority number one. Priority number two in this design is going to be the G center, obviously, and three, four, five. But you know, when they live their design, when they wait to be emotionally clear, they're always going to respond to, or in other words, connect with that which is of value, and they will not need to worry about their own worth and value, because that is kind of a virtual problem. It doesn't really, it isn't really there unless you initiate, right? As an MG, it's very easy to initiate. It's very easy to skip steps. It's very easy to not wait for the emotional clarity, and then you will misuse your willpower. And anybody who misuses their willpower, whether it's an open ego or a defined ego, anybody who misuses their willpower ends up feeling not good enough. That's kind of how you know that you're misusing your willpower. Your ego center is working in a way that's not aligned with you, and then we all have challenges, in feeling good enough. That's not just because it's an open ego. People with a defined ego have challenges with their self-worth as well. Just look at Donald Trump, who's got a defined ego, you know. Anyways, um, yeah. So another point I want to bring here is just take a look at these three gates of the integration field, as it's called. Looking at gate 10. This gate 10 is going to be very interesting as well for this person. Yeah. Basically, it's going to be somebody who knows how to behave, the gate of behavior, and somebody who loves themselves because it's the gate of behavior and the gate of self-love. So this person is really going to respond to people who know how to behave, who are at ease with themselves, who love themselves, right? Of course, the conditioning here in gate 10 could be to try and fix their own behavior in a certain pattern, kind of wondering about how should I behave. Um, let's move on. We have another single definition chart, and you can see the priority in the openness obviously is in the sacral center. This is a manifestor chart. And so you're looking at somebody who is here to impact the life force and is fiercely individual, right? All these channels are individual, and there is this additional tribal, supportive, and dominating channel as well here. And so when you look at the openness, who who is this person going to impact? Well, this person is probably going to impact people that have the capacity for focus. And they're also very much looking at, because gate 10 and 57 are here, they're looking at gate 34. They're probably going to look for people that are in one way or another powerful, that can be unique and different from others, right? And yeah, the priority definitely is in the sacral, which means that this is where you start talking about the openness, and you go like, okay, so for you as a manifestor, you're looking at how other people are using their life force. You can see whether they can concentrate or not, they can focus or not, gate 9. And you can see whether they can be, whether they are powerful or not, and you can impact their life force. You can bring this provocative energy so that you bring impact that will initiate some changes in their life, right? Uh, Only then we would go to head and ajna. The sacral is priority number one here for sure. Um, when you look at it, and you can see that gate 57 is in the incarnation cross, you can see that gate 20 would be kind of quite interesting as well for this person because it would bring 57 directly into expression. It's a big deal. These gates of the incarnation cross are always a big deal. And so, especially in a situation like this where you see this person is designed to be patient and is taking time to be emotionally clear and is looking at gate 20, you can see that there is a potential dilemma here because they may want to own that gate 20. It's open. It's not for them to become gate 20. They're looking at who is able to uh, act on the breakthrough insights that they bring, right? Gate 20 says the recognition uh, right now that transforms awareness into right action, transforming the awareness into right action. The Gate 57 brings the awareness. Gate 20 is right now I'm going to act. I do something, right? So they will probably impact people that have enough power to do something right now, to do something based on the impact and initiation that they as a manifestor bring, right? But in the same way, this gate 20 and this gate 34 could be conditioning for them. It could be like, I want to do things too forcefully, too powerfully, or I want to do everything right now. Right now would be the conditioning here. And when you say like this to a person, they go like, "Oh, okay, I get it. This is what I experience, too powerfully, or it needs to happen right now." It's kind of a sign for you that you're pushing it too far. And you're probably losing your impact and you're definitely losing your peace. You're getting stressed. So, yeah, let's go to the next chart. Again, this is an example where you see ego and G center are both completely open. And when the center is completely open, what is happening is that oh, I see there's a question here. They're looking at people who can stand still or who can focus. Yeah, they're looking at people. Um, yeah, they're looking at somebody who can bring them certain element of standstill, kind of being able to stick with something. Sure. Uh, yeah, yeah. Gate 9 is looking 852. Um, Gate 9 is not that important. I mean, of course, it's a format gate, so it is important, but it's not in the incarnation cross. But yes, Gate 9 is looking for someone who can bring kind of a stand, kind of this kind of a quality of being still with something. So what I want to say about gates with no activations, if you have I mean, centers, if you have a center which is completely open like this, it means that the person can be just as conditioned as in all the other centers, but they're not necessarily aware of their conditioning. Ultimately, this person can be kind of a great voice of wisdom in these areas. So what is truly valuable in the world, what is truly valuable on the material plane? Uh, what is the identity? Where to go? What is the kind of direction? It's not that they bring the direction, but they're looking at all kinds of people going in all kinds of direction, and they can be really wise about it. But because it's completely open, they may not even realize their conditioning there. I mean, it usually happens over the years as we grow and mature. We go like, okay, there's probably something like money that I need to deal with, but at the beginning they're not really concerned about it. They really don't see this area. It's kind of like there is a fog in there. So this is an example where, looking at this slide, uh, 1, 2, 3. Obviously, we would go to ego and then G. But because of this particular situation here, I would start talking about the openness in the sacral center because it's way easier for them to relate to the sacral center than to relate to ego and the G when it's completely open. And only then I would go to ego and the G. Just make it really like easy for them to understand. When you start talking about the sacral, they will know, they will recognize what you talk about. The need for rest, the need to go um, to bed early, the need to not overdo that, not knowing when enough is enough is the not self here. So this is really where I would start and then go to ego and the G center. Now, before we go to split and the gates that bridge the split, let's just establish a terminology here. Um, this is what Ra called harmonic gate. It's a gate which is open, but there is another gate on the other end of the channel which is activated. So whether it's activated from the defined or undefined center, it doesn't matter. If you have a gate which is not activated, but on the other end of the channel there is an activation, this gate is called harmonic gate. And specific example or specific kind of a part of the harmonic gates are the bridging gates, the gates that actually bridge the split, where if you had gate 12 in this design, it would bridge these two parts of definition together, or gate 7 or gate 1, would do the same thing, right? So let's take a look at the split where you have the bridging gates, and this is where you can really see how to work with that. Okay, so here we have two islands of definition, and gate 27 is the gate of caring and nurturing. Gate 27 is the gate that bridges the split here. In this situation, this gate, this bridging gate, is the most important focus of this design. This person is really, I mean, as long as we look at the openness as the theme of that which we're looking at, what we're filtering for. This is what we look at. In terms of gate 27, this design is like laser focused on that theme. And it's more important for them than whatever is in the ego center or in the G, root, head, or ajna. In terms of the openness in this particular design, in a split definition design where you have so-called bridging gate, and you can have more than one, by the way. I've seen designs with like 6 or 7 bridging gates. That's extreme, but to have 2 or 3, that's quite regular. But this bridging gate is the most important element of the openness. Okay, so what does it mean? It means that this person is really going to respond to people who bring caring and nurturing very much. Okay, by the way, intimacy channel over here, gate 50, right? The gate of values is here. These two channels together create what's called the defense circuit. It's a tribal circuit. We have the ego and the defense circuits, and it's what's called a minor circuit. If you have 3 of the 4 gates of a minor circuit, even if they wouldn't bridge a split, but they do in this case, the 4th one is extremely important. Now, because it's open, it also means that this is who they're meeting. They are generator, okay? So who will ask them for their energy? Well, all kinds of people will ask them. They have a 5th line in their design. People will project on them anything. But who will they respond to? They will respond to people who can care and nourish. Okay. Now, of course, in terms of the not self, and yeah, gate 22 too, we'll get to that. Thank you. In terms of, thank you, John. Yeah. So in terms of the not self, obviously the conditioning would be for them to be overly caring and nourishing. Okay. So they have the values. They feel a lot of responsibility for how things should be correct, the tribal values. And their job is not to care for all of it, but to offer it to people who care, who have the power to nourish and care. But of course, the conditioning would be for them to be too caring, too nourishing. And this is very useful for people because if you say it like that, they first of all they go, yeah, obviously this is what I do. They recognize themselves in it. It makes sense. And also you just tell them, well, anytime you feel like you should care or that you should nourish, uh, be careful. It's not always that you shouldn't. Of course, if you're a mother, you're obviously going to nourish your child or care for them or, for your partner, whatever. But in general, this wanting to care and nourish is a theme where you are easily conditioned, right? So these are signposts. If you can point this out for somebody, be careful about caring and nourishing. It may not be all that great for you. This is exactly where you can initiate. It's going to make a lot of sense for them. Yeah. Similar, gate 22, the gate of openness and grace. They're designed to be cautious. Gate 12 is caution. And they will respond to people who are open and who can open them up. And despite their caution and their need for emotional clarity, over time they will be clear that they can, trust these people and form close, intimate relationships with. Great. If they don't wait for clarity, they want to become the open ones, right? Throw caution to the wind and, hey, I'll be open to all kinds of caring. I'll be open to you and to anything, and I won't wait for the emotional clarity. I'll be open to anybody who wants to be close and intimate with me. It doesn't work, right? So they're going to respond to people that will gracefully open them up, and despite their caution, they will gain their trust so that they will take them into deeper levels of intimacy. And these people need to be caring for sure. Okay. So when you have a split definition, and of course, it's not just the split definition. You can always look at these, what's called harmonic gates, even in a single definition chart, right? Even in this chart, we spoke about it. You can look at the harmonic gate over here. You can say, hey, you're going to really look at how people behave. You will see whether people love themselves or not. By the way, don't worry about your behavior. Trying to fix your own behavior doesn't work. You don't need to worry about your behavior. Your behavior is perfect, whatever it is, as long as you take time to be emotionally clear before you connect with something. Okay? So let's look at another split definition chart. Okay, here is one where the bridging gate is gate 20, and I've already explained that gate 20 is about it's the gate of now. It's about, you know, uh, transforming the awareness and recognition in the now into the right action. So basically, through contemplation, somebody gets something and then can do it straight away. And of course, um, these people have the insatiability. This person is here kind of driven to share the criticism so that the world is better, is improved. And they have the intuitive clarity, and they want to perfect the form. And they have all kinds of um, opinions and details that they want to share and organize other people. And they're going to be responding to people who can actually act on what they bring. When they offer some uh, organization so that that which doesn't work is corrected and perfected, they're looking for people who will actually be able to do something about it, right? They're, on the other hand, their conditioning in gate 20 is wanting to do everything straight away right now. Again, very useful. You know, it's not primarily to beat people over their head with the not self and telling them how screwed they are because they have an open ego. No, that's nonsense. They're not screwed because they have an open ego. They can be very wise about what is truly, truly, truly valuable on the material plane, as long as they wait for their response here in this case. And as long as they don't try to do everything straight away right now, then it works. Okay. Another example here. Uh, this person, again, for some reason, so many charts with insatiability channel, uh, transmitter transmitting the correction, the criticism and the correction and the organization to those that can listen. The gate of a listener, somebody who is able to listen to other people, right? They're going to be responding to people who can listen to them. Okay. It's not their job to be, like a big listener, right? Because that's the not self to want to live that other end of the channel, that harmonic end, which isn't theirs. Uh, this is an interesting chart. I think we've seen it before or similar one. Uh, what are the bridging gates here? 48, 21, and 22. Okay. So transmitting the guidance to the community, and they're going to be looking for people who have certain depth, who have certain level of control over their own life, and who are open to the guidance this person brings, right? Because they are the gatherer, they can gather other people together and articulate the breakthrough uh, ideas uh, and transmit them in a way that will get community cooperating. And they're going to be very kind of clicking or listening or filtering for people who will come along that have certain depth necessary to recognize that the guidance they bring is super valuable. Certain level of self-control so they can actually implement it and are open to their guidance. Now, the not self would be, hey, I want to be in charge. I want to be controlling. I want to, bring all the solution to all the problems. Okay, or I'm going to chase depth, whatever it means. I'm going to do something so that I can become deeper, or I will be the open social being. No, that's the not self here. But when you look at these bridging gates as as basically themes that they encounter in the world around them, you see it as people, you go like, oh, so this person is going to be invited maybe by all kinds of people, but which invitations are going to be the yummiest for them? Which invitation is going to be really the one that they go like, wow, I like this invitation. It will be people that will open them up in one way or another, be graceful. have certain self-discipline and control over their life, and certain depth. Okay. And uh, another example over here. Okay, so we have gate 1 and 2 in the incarnation cross. Of course, gate 5 and 14 would both bridge the split, as well as gate 34 over here. Yeah. But gate 5, the fixed rhythms, is very opposite from the extreme rhythms. And also gate 2 is in the incarnation cross. So gate 14 is going to be the most important gate, uh, the most important harmonic gate, but also the most important element of the openness in this design. It's more important than the open ego or the solar plexus. You know, Ross says that these bridging gates are more important than any of the open centers. So somebody will come along and meet this 3-5 generator, and they will have this juicy wealth of energy that will empower them to go in their own unique direction. They know where to go, but they don't necessarily have the energy to go there. While they meet these people with gate 14, this juicy, wealthy wealth of energy, which gate 14 represents, you know, they have the energy to go somewhere, but they may not necessarily know where to go. And these people, this person with gate 2, will point out the direction for them. So, you know, this person can provide the direction for somebody who has the power to go there, but doesn't know where. While at the same time, this person may know where to go, but doesn't necessarily have the energy to go there, and the gate 14 will bring it to them. Okay. Um, what can you say about it in terms of the 34? They will look for people who are powerful and unique and different. Again, the not self for them would be, I want to be powerful. I want to demonstrate how unique and different I am to everybody else. That's the not self here, because it would bridge the split. But that's not what they're meant to do. They're meant to meet people who are powerful and unique and different and have this wealth of energy, and they can provide the direction for them. In a wide split, obviously the priority in openness is back to centers. So we would start with the G and then go wherever you want, either spleen or sacral, and after that to the root and then the throat. But I just want to point out that the principle that we were just working with in terms of bridging gates, which is it's a harmonic gate, but specific harmonic gate. It's called bridging gate. It continues here. Gate 13 doesn't bridge anything, but gate 33 is in the incarnation cross. So gate 13 is an important harmonic gate. And as this is a projector with the channel of community, they're going to be sharing all kinds of wisdom, gate 33, from what they've been through. And some of the people who will invite them will be people who will be willing to listen to them. So they're looking for people who are ready and willing to listen to what they have to say, right? Or you can say they're looking for people who have the values, because gate 27 is in the incarnation cross as well. Again, the same principle here. They will really listen to invitations from people who have the values, but in the not self, they might want to become the kind of a Mrs. or Mr. Values, traditional values. That's the not self to live out gate 50. I want to be really sticking to the right values, to the traditional tribal values. That would be the not self here, right? Or taking on way too many responsibilities. Gate 50 again. That would be the not self here. Caring too much. Yeah, you can only care if you have the power to care. With the invitation, with the right kind of invitation, you have the power to break down barriers and achieve intimacy. For some reason, my pencil stopped working. Let's see. Okay. Anyways, you have the power to make a commitment. Even though you're a projector with an open sacral, when you're invited, the energy will come and you get to live all these gates correctly. Channel bridge. Yeah, no, Theresa, we don't go into I don't go into like a channel bridge because that's the way I understand it. It's really not the topic. Um, like bringing the whole channel like 4323, I don't work with that. Only the harmonic gates, which are important based on the like. Let's say this is um, the incarnation cross. So yeah, this person uh, watch out, don't take on too many responsibilities, is what I would say to them, right? But you're really gonna click with people who have the responsibility. Like you are guiding people to work better together. That's the whole gig of the channel of community. Obviously, you want them to be able to listen to you when you guide them and to have some level of responsibility and sense of values. If not, why would you bother? Okay, so you can look at these gates on the other end of the channel from the incarnation cross gates and just go through it like that. Another example over here. We have a wide split, but it doesn't mean, of course, we start with the G center, then we would go to sacral, spleen, root. But as we talk about it, what I would say about the sacral in this case, it's a manifestor. I would say, hey, first of all, be careful not to care too much. Only if you initiate and inform based on your emotional clarity, you will care just right, and you will have the power necessary to care. And because they have 52 in their sun, they're going to look for people who can bring focus. They have the capacity to sit still, to be like a mountain, okay? But it's not their gig to focus and concentrate. That would be the not self, which is, they probably know what it means. If you tell them, hey, your gig is not to be too focused and concentrated, by the way. As you initiate, you will meet people who will bring focus to you and you will bring them your stillness. You will meet people uh, that when you stimulate them with your joyous vitality, they will be aware of what is wrong and what needs to be corrected. It's not your gig to want to criticize everything and everyone, to want to correct everything that's wrong in the world, because that would be the not self of you wanting to become gate 18, right? But you will initiate certain people into uh, their own awareness of, hey, this is wrong, this needs to be corrected. But it's not your job to say what's wrong and what needs to be corrected. Watch out for that. That would be your not self. But you will you will be kind of driven to go out and initiate and impact people that can recognize what needs to be corrected. And then you can bring your solutions to the problems. But you don't need to be the one uh, that points out the problem, right? That like the not self would be, I want to focus on fixing the problem. That would be the not self here. Okay. And I'll be fiercely in charge. So, dominating so that I can focus on fixing the problem in the world. No, it doesn't work. You'll never get your peace like that. Just want to say this: when you look at these bridging gates or these harmonic gates, uh, make sure you don't immediately see the problem. That's why I was saying all these things I was saying before at the beginning. Openness is where we uh, go to school in life. It's what we make decisions about. It's where we learn. It's not where the problem is. Another principle of prioritization in the openness here, you can see three of the four gates of the centering circuit, right? 3410, 5125, these two channels form another second of the two minor circuits. One is the defense circuit, one is the centering circuit. Again, if you've got three of the four, even though 25 doesn't bridge a split, it doesn't bridge a split. Ego center is already part of this definition of this island of definition. It doesn't bridge a split, but it's the only one that's open. Yeah, there is a split here, but it's not split between the ego and the G. So it doesn't bridge a split, but still, you have three of the four gates of the centering circuit, and so for that reason, gate 25 is important. And again, it's an important harmonic gate. So this person is going to respond to it. This person is wired to respond to people who are unconditionally loving or who are innocent in one way or another. Their not self would be, oh, I want to be unconditionally loving. I want to be innocent. Or you could speak about the not self in terms of the whole channel. You can say the not self would be, I want to be first and best at everything. I will initiate other people into something, right? And it's just useful signpost when you say this to somebody in a reading. You go like, hey, watch out. Don't try to be innocent. Don't try to be too loving, unconditionally loving. And usually they go like, oh, okay. And it's exactly where they can initiate. In terms of a generator chart, right? When we speak about not initiating, this is exactly where you can initiate the most. Uh, Obviously, the priority over here is in the solar plexus because it's a wide split. There is only one open center. I would go to solar plexus and speak about it, but I would point out this gate 25 as well. I would also point out this gate 34 over here because 57 and 20 are looking at it, and 22 because it would bring the authority into expression. So these are the various criterias why, because I mean, it makes no sense to speak about all the harmonic gates, like you would just overload the person with, way too many things to think about, uh, going back to what I said at the beginning, reading is just naming the keynotes in the order of priorities. You need to be able to prioritize and to leave out anything that's just over the top, too much. Which is, of course, that's the hardest thing. It's easy to do reading that takes 4 hours. It's way more challenging to do a really good reading that takes an hour or an hour and a half. So, anyways, triple split, priority is in the open centers, solar plexus, head over here. But even in triple split, you can have these harmonic gates that would bridge two parts of the split, gate 16, for example. So what is this person going to respond to? They're going to respond to people who are enthusiastic or skillful, enthusiastic about uh, their solution to problems. Maybe even enthusiastic about their criticism. That's a bit of a stretch, but maybe. Uh, maybe enthusiastic about their depth. Definitely having some skills. They'll respond to these people. Now, it's a conditioning for them to want to be skillful or want to be way too enthusiastic. Of course, you can be enthusiastic. Of course, you can have some skills even if you don't have gate 16 activated. It's like, yes, of course you can listen to somebody even if you don't have gate 13 activated. But if you go overboard, that's the conditioning there. Okay. Let's see. Quadruple split. There is either one center open or no center open. So if there is one open center, you start with the open center, obviously. And then you can select again some of the harmonic gates or bridging gates that are important. For example, here I can see gate 2 may be quite important because 8 and 14 are in the incarnation cross, and gate 2, if the person had gate 2, they would immediately become a generator. So, they're going to respond to people who bring the direction. That's one of the first examples we had in the openness. They know they have the power to go somewhere. They can empower the direction of other people, but they don't necessarily have the direction of their own. Of course, the not self would be wanting to look out for the direction. This is kind of funny because it's a defined G center, and usually an open G center is looking for direction in the not self. But here, this person would probably feel that they need to find direction, even though that's really they don't. When they wait to be invited, it's a projector. They will always meet people that will bring direction to them. Yeah. So to kind of conclude, um, and by the way, I want to say this, I had the priorities in the body graph and simplifying human design. I decided not to speak about the second topic. It was just an add-on, but I wouldn't do it justice if I didn't, I just wouldn't do it justice. So I stuck to this. Few kind of criterias what to look for when you look at the uh, harmonic gates and you want to get to the order of priorities, right? You look at the gates of the incarnation cross, look at a gate that would complete a stream. Do we have an example of completion of a stream? I think we had it somewhere. Uh, let's see. Yeah, I don't see it, but this is a stream. If you have like, for example, these two at 4816, okay, that's a stream basically. So completion of a stream, completion of a minor circuit. I spoke about that already. Expressing the definition, especially a motor into the throat. And when the gate would define one or especially both centers, especially if it would define a sacrocenter, it's like, yeah, that's also something you can take into consideration. This is maybe too detailed. It really requires more practice and experience. This is what we do in professional training. I just wanted to add this list over here. And with the download, you will have also these 3 slides where you have more examples. I just want to kind of open it up here at the end of the talk. If there is a question about some of that, maybe you can just write it in the chat. Uh, I hope it helped. It was helpful, insightful. Again, the main point is looking at the openness as something that you're interacting with, not as the not self. Julia, anything to say? You popped on the camera. Oh, okay, cool. Happy to see you there. Yeah, I just want to say, Jenna Bliven, Director of Human Design America, is teaching Living Your Design course starting very soon, and it's probably been 12 years since he taught that. He's gonna personally teach it. It's gonna be a really great course. Suggest you check it out at humandesignamerica.org. And I will be teaching PTL1, semester 1, the professional training starting again very soon, January 25th. And again, you can sign up at humandesignamerica.org if you're interested to really get into this. It's a complex topic. I just wanted to bring it to you in a way that hopefully will be understandable and just have some fun with that. Yeah, that's it from me. And thanks for being here. And yeah, thanks to organizers for inviting me. All right. Enjoy the festival. Be well and take care. Bye.
Thank you for being with us on this journey at the Human Design Rave Festival 2024.